On today's show, we talk about Gradey Dick, draft profile, talk about what he can bring to the team, the strengths and weaknesses, talk about that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
10 Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show. Make it Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. Join the Raccoon Squad, be an everydayer, and subscribe or follow for free. Just search Locked On Mavericks wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube, where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and to comment anything below. Let us know, why would the Mavericks pass on Gradey Dick? We already know, according to sources, that they're not going to draft him. Why would they pass on him? Talk about that. If you want to support the show, text us, get text alerts from us on Mavs rumors and more. Subscribe to our subtext. Click the link in the description below. We answer questions all the time. I texted a bunch of people today from it. And joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, contributor at Mavs.com, the Dick dude, the one more thinking. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
First off, the picture of him the other day that came out, I mean, are we sure that you aren't related? I mean,
what
this
picture?
Is more, this is better
me.
than Kyle Korver.
What are you talking about? This is I'm just frozen. This is me.
I know you went to the combine and all, but you talked to some reporters.
Man.
This is the perfect time for my wife to walk in the room. we just got to get this out of the way really quick. Barb, we're talking about a draft prospect. His last name is Dick. We got to get this out of the way just right now. We're going to be saying Dick a lot on this pod.
If you're listening with children, this is maybe not the show. If they don't.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just inevitable at this point that there's going to be weird things that are said. That's going to be weird sentences.
What weird things are you about to say?
No, I'm just saying, like, if you start, I mean, it's like Dick has size, you know? Like, it's like, all right.
Nice penetrating thrust to the middle.
You know, so it's gonna get fun. I mean, we can talk. Dick's pretty good at penetrating to the hole, and it's just part of it. Like, it's gonna be one of those pods.
This man is a pastor. We will talk about Gradey Dick. We'll talk about his strengths, weaknesses, why the Mavs aren't taking him, instead of why the Mavs should take him, why they shouldn't. We'll do why the Mavs aren't, because according to Tim Cato, Gradey Dick isn't likely to be considered by Dallas, the team and league sources tell The Athletic. So we already know that they're not considering him. Now, we also know that it's smokescreen season. Anything can happen at this point. So maybe
we need a drop for that. What could be our drop for that? Smokescreen.
It's hard because smoke is like a visual thing and not like an auditory thing. But
it should be like a Call of Duty, like the smoke grenade. If there could be a drop for that.
Okay, I'll put it on my list. Gradey Dick, 6'7", 200 pounds, 6'9" wingspan, which is a positive. He's gonna be 19 at the time of the draft. He went to Kansas for one season. The one sentence descriptor on him is a sharpshooting wing with playmaking skill that'll make him more than just a specialist in the NBA. We take a lot of stuff on all these draft profiles. Take stuff from Raphael from NBA Big Board, Locked On NBA Big Board. Take from KOC on The Ringer, The Athletic, and as well as ESPN. I compile all of them. Isaac compiles them. We watch some stuff ourselves on Synergy in different places, and then we come up with what we think about this player. But let's just start here. Why, according to The Athletic and Tim Cato, why are the Mavericks not considering Gradey Dick in the draft?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that Dallas wants a bigger bodied, defensive wing, and like a guy who can, defend some of these bigger wings out there. Dallas just isn't, especially after they traded Dorian. This is why when we've done our, draft profiles on, Taylor Hendricks, on Jarris Walker on Monday, that those just fit the mold of what Dallas is looking for.
Dallas doesn't think Dick can hang like on defense.
God bless. I ain't gonna be able to do this. Some people are either going to love this pod or they're going to be like, y'all are so childish.
They'll never listen to us again.
Dick's just hard. It's hard to Yo, we're
Nice penetrating thrust to the middle.
Dallas just wants a bigger body defensive guy, and that's where the shooting from him,
size matters.
God bless, the shooting from him would be appealing to Dallas, but defensively he just doesn't fit what Dallas is needing at that spot. And Cato made a good point of that about the older team. He would have been a big fan of him. And yes, that is Gradey Dick coming into this this draft, in the Mavericks draft in around 10. If this was the older team, I would be asking for the FanDuel odds. All right. So, but this is a new age, and Dallas is looking for something a little bit different this time around. You
just look at what the Mavericks need right now. And I know you're not supposed to draft based on need, but he just doesn't fit what they need. And there's going to be players at that spot, if they were to keep the pick and they were to draft, that do fit what they need. And so he just doesn't fit at this point, because we'll go through his strengths and weaknesses a little bit later. He's a defensive liability at this point because of his frame. He's just small. Like, I was watching some of his clips of him defending, and like, he can be in the right spot and stuff, and we'll talk about that, but like, I can't imagine him defending Luka Doncic. They're the same height, right? Like,
nobody can, Luka.
But like, Luka's just gonna push him, like shoulder bump him right, and he's gonna fall off his spot, and then Luka's just gonna be able to get to the hole so easy. Like, it would just be easy for him to get around Dick. Like, I can't imagine Jimmy Butler, him guarding Jimmy Butler. Like, you start going, Jason Tatum even, like, you start going through players in the league, and you're like, okay, well, eventually you're gonna have to hide him as a player.
Jimmy would put Dick in a blender.
Oh, that one hurt me. Like, oh. And so yeah, that's why they're not considering him, because what they want instead is they want size, they want athleticism, they need defenders, right? And there's going to be guys. We're looking at this, we're looking at mock drafts, and we're looking at where players are rising, and one of Anthony Black, Taylor Hendricks, Jarris Walker is probably going to make it there for the Mavericks. At least we hope.
Yeah. Yes. At least we hope. Like you said earlier, he went to Kansas. He was 2-time Gatorade Player of the Year at Kansas, or in Kansas, in the state of Kansas. There,
he was a one and done.
Yeah. I meant in high school.
Okay.
His mom played at Iowa State, and his mom played professional basketball also. But one of the I don't think she was a dick back then. So
she was a real nice person.
Yeah. No. Can you imagine going from your maiden name, and it's like telling your parents, you're like, I met this guy, he's awesome. Like, okay, cool. What's his last name? Well, just meet him first.
You know how some people, like, when they're about to get married, they write like their future name on notebooks, like all over the place.
Yeah.
Do you think you just draw it instead?
Does she get it like monogrammed on the back of her robe? It's like
the front.
Yeah. Okay. So back to this. I looked at his like profile thing on Kansas. I love looking at what some of these guys like are into. It says he likes TikTok, shocker, okay, horror movies, and fishing. Okay. What a combo! What a combination there. But no, I mean, yeah. Where are you going to go next? Sorry.
Let's just get into strengths and weaknesses. Let's talk about him as a player. We've already talked about why the Mavericks aren't considering him. Let's flesh it out a little bit more and see where they are. We'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel is sponsoring the show. They're the #1 sportsbook in America, the #1 sportsbook in our hearts. And right now they have a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500, $2,500 that you could get back in bonus bets. If you do the no sweat first bet, just have to go to fanduel.com/lockedon. They have, remember yesterday, it was Denver Nuggets for the series -500. It dropped down to -460. So there's some money. There's some money on the Heat after it went super high for the Nuggets. So that one's interesting. There's all kinds of fun stuff. There's who can get the first bucket. You can bet on the game. You can bet on this series. There's all kinds of different things. So go check it out. And again, no sweat first bet up to $2,500. You can get it. FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, being an everydayer, part of the Raccoon Squad. We appreciate each and every one of you listening to Locked On Mavericks. Support the show by subscribing to our subtext. All right, Isaac Harris, we're talking about Gradey Dick, draft profile. According to The Athletic and Tim Cato, the Mavericks aren't considering him. We'll talk about why they're not. His strength, let's start with that. He's a great shooter, incredible shooter, flawless shooting release, no wasted movement on it, just such a quick catch and shoot, like doesn't even have to dip. That's just such an advanced thing too. You're on the wing and you're ready for a catch and shoot shot. Somebody kicks the ball over to you, you grab it, and you don't even have to like put the ball down towards your knees and then pull up and shoot. Like he doesn't have to rise up into a shot. He just has the ball there and it puts the ball right over his head and shoots. Like it just looks so flawless. And just an incredible, incredible shooter. Like he's one of only, I was watching Hoop Intellect, which is an amazing YouTube channel breaking down prospects like this. And he said he was one of only like 3 one-and-done players to ever shoot over 40% from 3 wow. in the first year. Like it just doesn't happen because you have to get used to the speed of the game and everything. And it didn't matter for him. It was like him and Jamal Murray and like just really good shooters.
Listen, if you have to have a trait, if you could only pick one trait to have in the league that you're going to be really, really dang good at, that would guarantee you to be in the league for a very long time, it's going to, I think shooting would be the pick. And
yep, it's a good one.
I mean, he's going to be in the league for a while. He is, I mean, right there. I mean, if you want to talk about him, you want to talk about Jordan Hawkins, who, there might be another guy or two. If you want to talk about Jed Howard, maybe as far as like the best shooters in the draft, but I'd put Gradey Dick right there at the top. And one of the main reasons for that is he's not just a catch and shoot, like with his feet set shooter. The most impressive thing about him to me is the fact that he can shoot it like doing everything. Like he can do the pump fake, sidestep 3. He's already got that in his bag. Like that is something you have to develop. The Duncan Robinsons of the world, like you got to be able to develop that. You can't just be a, hey, with my feet set type of shooter. He can come off screens. I think one of the most impressive stats for him is when you look at all of his, shooting numbers are really good. But when you look at his like dribble jumper on synergy, 89 possessions last year, but he was in the 96th percentile, hitting 46% of those shots. And I watched every single one of those possessions earlier today. I was like, all right, I'm going to watch all these. How legit are these? And these are, either dribble up jumpers. These are sidestep, pump fake, dribble over. This is coming off a screen, taking a couple dribbles. In fact, I mean, he's off balance. He doesn't have his feet set at times. That's what separates good shooters to great shooters in the NBA. And you got to be able to do that. And he already has that. And I mean, like you said, at his size, his release point is, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better release point because it's so high already. Yeah. So that's why it's like, man, you look at a guy like him and, this is more about where Dallas is now, but like, yes, he has a funny last name. Yes, everybody will do all of that with, but he is a pretty dang good prospect. It isn't a guy that you'd look at and be like, man, God, that sucks. Yeah, it's just a gimmick, or it's just a, he's just a shooter. If he's open, then it's that he can do more than that, and his variety of shots is, I think, the most impressive thing about him.
Yeah, there's pretty much every draft person that I read on him said more than a specialist too. Can cut, can attack closeouts too. Doesn't have the best dribble. We'll talk about that, but he can attack closeouts. And he can do some stuff off the dribble, make some plays. Good playmaker and good passer, making plays on the move and different things like that. So it's not, like you said, not just a set shot where he's only just a catch and shoot shooter. He can take his jumpers off the move. He can also make passes and plays off the move too.
Yes. If we're staying on the strengths, his energy and his hustle and all of that, like, we'll talk about the weaknesses or areas to improve. And defense is definitely going to be one of them, but he at least tries really hard on that end. He's going to be targeted, when he gets into the league. That's just going to be a given. He got targeted some in college at the same time, but yeah, I mean, his thing is going to be offense, and to be out there, and we'll talk about some comps in a little bit, but everybody needs shooting. And you look at teams, through there, you look at a team like Orlando, like if you had to put odds on like where he would land, Orlando at 6 or 11, it's like, dude, having him playing off Paolo or Franz, Markelle Fultz, system to where he can just launch up threes, I mean, that's going to be perfect for him.
Yeah, right now on availability, Raphael had him at 11 in the mock draft. The Ringer had him at 11. The Athletic had him at 11. ESPN had him at 9th to the Jazz, which also feels like a match.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, 3 out of the 4 that I check had him right at 11 going to Orlando. So it really matches. Let's talk about some weaknesses. He's got a small frame. He is 6'7", and he's got a 6'9" wingspan. So like those dimensions are good, but he's 200 pounds or 204 pounds. I guess he's listed at 204, 205 pounds. He just lacks some strength. I watched a couple of plays where he just gets bodied, like somebody pushes him, and he's either, he takes charges a lot, like he's willing to step in and take those. When you're talking about the hustle plays, that's something that he'll do. He's not going to get those in the NBA. I mean, he's going to get pushed off his spot by pretty much any ball handler in the NBA. I mean, imagine like Westbrook, Jimmy Butler, Luka. Like imagine some of these guys just pushing Kawhi, pushing him off of his spot. They're gonna have to hide him in some ways early on until he adds some strength. And that's one of the reasons why the Mavericks aren't targeting him. Defensive liability. He'll get targeted.
Yeah, he's going to. There's no other way around that. And, not just his size on the wing, but it's his athleticism and stuff too. You start looking at some of the combine numbers. He was one of these guys, one of the only like lottery guys or projected lottery picks that pretty much did everything. Like, depending on who you talk to, Bill Duffy, he's a Bill Duffy client. I mentioned the video the other day on Anthony Black's YouTube channel. The kind of like day in the life of Anthony Black. It's like him and Gradey Dick, and it's cool. You see both their personalities and stuff, and they seem like cool dudes. But it's you look at the combine stuff, and he had 34-inch vertical. When you look at guys under 34-inch or lower in the vertical category here, there were only 3 guards who were in that, and Gradey Dick was one of them. The rest of them are centers and power forwards.
Yikes.
And it was him, Trey Alexander, who just went back to Creighton today, and then Jalen Pickett. So it's just that's the max vertical on that. You can look at some of his other stuff from the combine, and it just that's the biggest thing with him. He's not going to pop off the screen and be this like crazy out of this world leaper. He's not going to be a lockdown defender, but he's going to be a dang good shooter, and being a dang good shooter is going to keep you in the league a long time.
Couple other weaknesses. He's also not an offensive initiator, right? You don't want to put the ball in his hands, tell him, all right, go run a play, like go ahead and run a pick and roll, or go run something here and there, or go run off of double drag or something. Like you're not going to ask him to do that at this point, the type of player that he is.
No, he's not you're not giving him the ball and saying, hey, let's ISO it out, and you're not running him as a pick and roll, main guy either. Even though he's not, he can dribble, but he's just not going to initiate, the offense and all that. So
coming up, let's get into some comps. Let's say some players that we consider him to play like his style and all that. And we'll talk about if the Mavericks did take him, what would his role be and all that kind of stuff and all that. We'll talk about that coming up. All right, Isaac, we're talking about Gradey Dick. We're giving his draft profile. Let's talk about some comps. Just looking at some of the players across the league, like I started to I think he would compare to here's some names I thought of: Duncan Robinson, Kevin Huerter, Joe Harris, Sam Hauser, Corey Kispert, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Doug McDermott, Tyler Hero, Chetty Osman. Right? Like,
is that the Utah Jazz?
I just found all the 6'6", 6'7" white shooters that I could find. I do think he compares to. Tyler Hero is actually one that I think he does compare to because he can do some stuff off the dribble. Tyler Hero, I think, is a little bit better with the ball in his hands. But
that's why I don't like the Bojan one. I see some people throw Bojan out there. Yeah, but Bojan, Bojan could initiate an offense. Bojan could be the primary ball handler, running a pick and roll. Not primary, but what I mean. And Gradey Dick's just not that. I don't think he can be that either.
Honestly, comparison.
Who?
Tim Hardaway Jr. Really? They are very similar in a lot of different things. I think Tim's a better athlete than Gradey Dick is, but shooter, you don't put the ball in their hands that much when you're trying to initiate. I mean, some of the other stuff, you can shooting off the move. Tim can do that. Like a lot of that other stuff. Like I think they compare a lot.
Yeah, honestly, didn't think about it. I landed on. I was disappointed you didn't say Luke Kennard. Or tall
Kennard.
Kennard.
Yeah, I was gonna say Kennard's too short. I put the parameters on StatHead. I put it 6'6" to 6'9". That's what I put the parameters because he's 6'8".
The one I landed on, and I'm not like in love with it, but it's the closest one I think I can get to is Cam Johnson. And
that was a good one.
I think Cam might be a little bit taller, and Cam has a couple like quiet, just poster dunks on people.
Yeah.
And Gradey Dick is not that, but the sense of just a knockdown, lights out shooter, a guy who's not going to initiate an offense and say, hey, like, go clear out. Let me do this. A guy that's not, I wouldn't say Cam Johnson is a lockdown defender,
right?
Either, but Cam Johnson's about the best one I could do. Yeah. Without getting lazy with it.
Oh, you're saying I went lazy with it? That's what I did. If the Mavericks decided to draft him, let's say the Mavericks were blowing smoke and there was a smoke screen, his future role, I mean, he's Tim Hardaway Jr.'s role. Like you can just see him fit right there. He would get a ton of open shots with the Mavericks. He'd take a ton of threes. He would be there. Like imagine having him on the wings and just finding open spot and nobody's paying attention to him because they're paying attention to Luka and Kyrie. I mean, it would just be a great spot for him offensively.
I mean, kind of like what they envisioned JJ Redick to be.
When they brought him in.
When we came in, I would say kind of like in the limited spots that you see Davis Bertans get into the game, I would say like look at the role that Bertans plays of coming off screens, catch and shoot, standing in the corner, stuff like that. And then you just bank on trying like, hey, you're adding to your wing spot. He is that 6'7", 6'8" range, somewhere through there, and it's like you're just saying, all right, like you're going to be one of our wings. And guess what? As we try to figure out some of our other wings, if they can shoot or if they can do this, we know that you have one guaranteed lock trait of, we know when we put you in the game, you're going to at least spread the floor. Like they will have to guard you. There would be no, Rudy Gobert, watching you in the corner and saying, hey, I'm going to hang out in the paint because I'm going to dare you to shoot the ball. You're at least going to spread the floor.
Paying $20 million for Davis Bertans and Gradey Dick, though, is not a business that I want to be in if I'm the Mavericks.
Yeah.
Like if that's something that you're doing. So like I don't think that he fits, and he doesn't solve anything that the Mavericks need. If the Mavericks make a couple of moves and all of a sudden they're needing shooting, then that's maybe something that they revisit and think about. But I think if they're making a couple of moves, the 10th pick is going to be part of it. So I didn't even really look at the rotation fit or the roster impact, stuff that we normally do. But let's do this question. We know that the Mavericks are not considering him. Are they making a mistake? Considering all we just talked about.
No, I mean, I don't think they're making a mistake because I think you got to look at it, who else is going to be there, right? Like if we wanted to sit there and do the tiers, you got that top three. And then after that, you're looking at the Thompson brothers, you're looking at Cam Whitmore, you're looking at Hendricks, Anthony Black, Jarris Walker, and that gets you to the 9th spot. So then after, from 10 to, I mean, how many other players you want to put in that next one? Because I feel like most people have, some iteration of Case and Wallace and, Gradey Dick at those next two spots at 10 and 11. I was listening to, NBA Big Board today, Raphael's latest mock draft. He had Derek Lively going that high at 10 to Dallas. I was like, holy crap, that is high. But Raphael's all in on Lively. So yeah, I mean, is it a mistake? No, just because this is the reason. One, I think they're still going to trade it. I'm still in that camp.
Yeah, me too.
Two, I think if you keep the pick, I think you're banking on one of those dudes falling at some point. Like you're banking on Case and Wallace going to Washington or Gradey Dick going at 6 to Orlando or, something like that, to where it just takes one of those dudes to fall to 10 and you take them.
Or Derek Lively.
Or yeah, the third option is, or you're comfortable enough with whoever is 10 through 12 on your big board that would be there either way, whether it's Derek Lively, whether it's Case and Wallace, whoever it is, that you're like, hey, like we really like Wallace or Lively more than Gradey Dick. So there's really no scenario in which we would really take him at that point, unless it's like you traded down. And that's the case where I would be like open to it, is if, let's say, Dallas made a big move. They traded down into like the late teens. Let's say Tim Hardaway's in that deal, something else. They get a more of a defensive, bigger wing in that deal. And it's like they're sitting there at like 16 or 17 and Gradey Dick falls or something. I don't think he's going to fall because he's that good of a shooter. Yeah. Then it's like, okay, cool. Like, you want to come in and play the Tim Hardaway role off the bench, then I can see it then. But yeah, it's just that's a very like slim path to where I could see him being in Dallas. And it's not really we were talking about this before. It's not even that big of like a knock on him. It's more because I'm a believer in him as a prospect.
It's not you, it's me.
Yeah. I think he's going to be in the league for a while. I think he's going to be a great ad for a team. It's just the spot that Dallas is in right now. The combination of like they have multiple holes to fill and he really doesn't fit any of them. And
it's a nice penetrating thrust to the middle of it.
I didn't even mean for that one.
That's why it was the best one.
I'm glad I didn't say his I'm glad I didn't say his name and then say that.
Bates, clip that.
Bates is going to have a field day with this pod.
We didn't do ceiling and floor, which we normally do because I was saving it for this. Is the reason why I don't think it's a mistake is because if you look at his ceiling, what's his ceiling? If you say, okay, what's the best possible outcome for him to turn out? Is it Tyler Hero? Is that the best possible outcome? Because the Heat are looking at him and paying him a bunch of money, trying to figure out, okay, what do we do? What do we do with him? We might be better without him. And I think he's better with the ball than Gradey Dick is, coming in. So, like, I'm not worried about missing out on that. I guess if you're just projecting what's the best case scenario, I don't think the Mavericks will regret missing out on that more than they would regret missing out on what's the best that a Jarris Walker could be, or a Taylor Hendricks, or even a Case and Wallace. Like, you can project those guys and say, okay, they're what we need a lot more if they hit their peak than what Gradey Dick could potentially be.
That's the thing. I think Gradey Dick has a high floor in the sense of like, hey, we know his role, and you could look at it and say 10 years from now and say, dude, Gradey Dick's been in the league for a while now. He's he's on his like third contract, whatever it is, and he's making good money. But you could also and say, man, what if Dallas took him? But instead they took a swing on a Taylor Hendricks at 10 or whoever it is at pick 10 because they had to, because that you just got to do that. You can't go into this. Dallas, I think, is kind of past that point of just like you got to take if you're going to stay there at 10, you got to take somebody that, anyway. Wait,
don't we think they also need to play it safe though too?
They do, but not that safe.
Too safe.
Think. I don't. With the prospects,
it's the wrong kind of safe.
Yeah, with the prospects that are there, like that's the thing. Like if you're sitting there saying, man, like Gradey Dick, you're at like 14 or 15, and it's like Gradey Dick versus
Case and Wallace.
See, I like Case and Wallace more for Dallas than Gradey Dick, but
you're asking who they would pick Gradey Dick instead of.
Well, I'm saying to where it would be that conversation of like if it's Gradey Dick or if it's GG Jackson, and you're like, man, GG Jackson, the ceiling there is insane. Like if everything hit, like he has a bunch of these tools, but everything, the combat wasn't, in favor for him, like a bunch of this stuff.
Yeah.
Then it's like, yeah, just take Gradey Dick. Like, but because the floor is higher and you don't want to risk that, but I'm willing to risk it for a Taylor Hendricks or a Case and Wallace, a prospect like that. Like, yeah.
There you go. Let us know in the comment section. Why should the Mavericks pass on him? Why are the Mavericks making a mistake passing on Gradey Dick? And then, let us know in the comment section. We'll be back tomorrow talking about, what are we doing tomorrow? We're answering your questions. We're doing a mailbag, so send us your questions on subtext. Text us some questions. I'll send out a prompt tomorrow to get some questions. Always get some great ones from you guys, so we appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.